we're working on the drone. We're working on just taking deep breaths and then for the exhales, finding the drone and really working with it. Sorry, I'm a little stuffed up here. And that's something to really be aware of, is that, you know, didgeridoo puts a lot of pressure in your sinuses and stuff. You need to really work with it. I have to work with it every single time. It's a challenge and it's a good one. It's a really good teacher. So, to the drone. We're really working on the drone. We're not trying to make a whole ton of sounds, you know, at first. We're really just paying attention to our body, paying attention to the resonance of the didgeridoo, and finding that in-between perfect little spot, that the maximum resonance, the maximum volume, the maximum voice of the didgeridoo, the tree tube, the voice of the Yidaki gods, comes out. You know, you don't have to play super exquisite, amazing, you know, impressive didgeridoo for the spirit to move through it. You really just have to be able to focus and channel that resonance and allow it to breathe through the tube. So that's what we're working on. We're working on the drum. Deep breath. Good. So you might find that doing that deep breath and then a full release into the drone takes a lot of breath, and you may not be able to sustain it for more than 5, 10, 15 seconds at first. That's because the embouchure of your lips hasn't sensitized enough yet to become very efficient. What's happening is that your lips are vibrating. The embouchure is really big, and it sounds loose and soft and full, but all your breath escapes you really quick. What you want to do is slowly learn to crisp, to tighten your lips while still remaining soft with the pressure in your lungs. What that looks like without the didgeridoo is going from, you know, this, that's a lot of air, to this. Much less air. Not any louder, but crisper and less air. It's a smaller embouchure. Embouchure is the opening in a wind instrument. Didgeridoos have large embouchures, and you can play, you know, with that full 1.25 inch embouchure, but you really want to play with a much smaller embouchure. You get a lot more sensitivity and control. Just like with lovemaking or anything else, the tiniest touch can bring about some of the most blissful and full feeling experiences. And that's what we want to do with the didgeridoo. We want that kiss of our lips to be efficient, minimal, and maximally expressed harmonically through the drone and later on the tubes and air code and everything else. So we're working on that drone. We're trying to go from loose and soft, which is taking a lot of air, to crisping up. What that sounds like is going from this to what I'll show you afterwards. So going from loose to crisper. Really crisp. You'll notice that the sound gets clearer, the overtone, that higher part of the sound, starts becoming louder and cleaner, and also, you know, the fullness of the voice comes out, and you can have such a longer tone because it's like pushing air through a straw instead of pushing it through a, you know, a vacuum cleaner hose or something really big. So what we're doing is we're crisping up our lips. what you'll find is also happening is that your tongue is starting to get tight in your mouth. Instead of being flaccid and loose, it's really being straight and aware inside, the bottom part of your mouth. You might be bringing your tongue farther forward towards your teeth, which will also tighten the embouchure and make the drone tighter. So go ahead and slowly and delicately, with awareness, move your tongue inside your mouth while playing the drone, and see how that affects the embouchure, the tightness, and the overtones. Good work. So, this is a good point. Now that we've learned the drone, and if you haven't mastered it yet, just keep practicing. Practice with your heart, practice with your breath, practice with your mind, practice with your love. Now that we've really learned the drone, we want to see, well, what else can we do with it? And this is where I like to talk about the 4 interactions of didgeridoo playing. When you're playing in the future, say you're busking on a street corner, or you're playing to, a room full of people or a concert, people are going to ask you, how are you doing all that with just your lips, and just this tube? Is there reeds and noisemakers inside the tube? Well, no, there are not reeds and noisemakers inside the tube. It's really just a hollow tube with a couple shape, differences inside of it. You can play a PVC tube perfectly around straight and make a lot of sounds, And those sounds come through the 4 interactions. The first interaction is what we've been learning. It's the drone interaction. It's the interaction of the lips buzzing to find and accentuate the fundamental frequencies of the didgeridoo. This didgeridoo has fundamental frequencies in C sharp, and a few tones above that. This didgeridoo behind me here has, a totally different key. It's much lower. It's G sharp with a very strange BGB above that. It really depends on the shape of the instrument. That's the first interaction, what we've been working on. It's the drone. It's the buzzing of the lips to create the drone. And the buzzing can be the drone. It can also be the overtones. Just the lips, not the tongue, not the voice, not the lung thrusting. In the sky. So that's doing nothing but tightening and loosening the lips to find those places where resonance happens and the didgeridoo is loud and sounds good. The second interaction is the interaction of the secondary chamber of the duet, the secondary chamber of the didgeridoo and player alchemical interaction. The second interaction is the tongue moving in the mouth, is the cheeks opening and closing and thrusting, the jaw dropping slightly to